So here are a few of my expectations for going to South Africa, because I'm going for the first time this Friday. As well as South Africa, we went to Zambia, Zimbabwe and Botswana. There's a little spot where the 4 countries all meet and it's really quick to get over the border. I'll talk about all 4 countries in this video. The first thing I feel like is going to be quite different is the weather. It's not good to think of a stereotype of Africa being warmer, because I know that they're going into autumn, whereas here it's spring, so it could be warmer here than there. I don't think it's very likely. I've heard that when it rains there, it really, really rains. We don't get any of these drizzles that we get here, so I'll see if I get to experience any rain or storms. I was right in this case. Before I arrived, everyone told me it was going to be cold. Compared to Scotland, it was very warm. It was a bit chillier in Johannesburg and Cape Town, maybe closer to 20 or 25 degrees, but in Zambia it was 30 and my pale Scottish skin burned. It only rained a couple of nights and wasn't very heavy, so I didn't get to see a proper storm, but I did get completely drenched at Victoria Falls. Just from the falls, not from any rain. And of course, every sunset was just incredible. Landscape-wise, I think it's flatter than here. I'm used to quite hilly landscape. Drier. I need to keep reminding myself I'm not going to the Sahara Desert. This is a lot further south. It could be less warm and less dry than I'm expecting it to be. Even after all that second guessing, I was still wildly wrong about the landscape, but mainly because the landscape is so varied. Most of it was not flat, and where the hilly land was, it was pretty drastic, like at Victoria Falls or Table Mountain. Sure, the Chobe National Park was dry and looked like the stereotypical African savanna that you see in pictures and movies, but then there were lush areas and even parts along the coast that reminded me of Mediterranean seaside towns. Strangely to me, there were a lot of areas, especially near Johannesburg, with red terrain, reminding me of the red clay I'm used to seeing in central Pennsylvania. Along with thinking about the landscape, I've been thinking about the wildlife. Obviously, there's safari wildlife, which is quite different from just everyday stuff. I am very, very excited to see bigger wildlife, big game, things like that. But that is less just what you see in the streets. Maybe a lot of cats. I've only been to Morocco in Africa, and there were a lot of cats. But also I know that Morocco is up here, and then South Africa is all the way down here. So they're actually a few thousand miles apart. So maybe there won't be cats. I was wrong. I barely saw any cats. I actually saw more lions than cats during my trip, but I did get lucky and saw a pride sleeping together. Going on a safari was one of the best things I've ever done, and I saw some insane things. Highlights for me were elephants, lions, and hippos, but honestly everything I saw was amazing. I also hadn't anticipated seeing bigger animals just while out and about or driving in less rural areas. I saw a lot of baboons, and one even got into our car and stole a bag. The birds also looked so big and exotic compared to the little garden birds I'm used to. Buildings-wise, I'm really not sure what to expect, because I don't think that they are going to be European-style buildings, but my only other point of reference is really American-style buildings. I think I'm expecting the buildings to look a bit more like that sort of thing, more separated than squished in together. Maybe in the centre of cities things will look a bit more like the tenement buildings and apartment buildings that I'm used to. I was sort of right about this, but like with the landscape, the buildings varied so much. The houses and commercial complexes did remind me more of American ones than British, but there were a lot of other buildings. I went to Soweto, where many people live in small shacks, which is a sad reality of something I've seen so many times in geography textbooks. I'm aware of the fact that I generally experience the touristy and wealthy areas during my trip, and this gives me a skewed idea of the way that people live across southern Africa. I did notice a huge amount of gates and fences. Everything is fenced in and out, residential or commercial. While in Soweto, our guide told us that while for most people it's for safety and security, it's also become a status symbol if you're able to afford a strong security system, and people are proud to show this off. Very different to what I'm used to. Also very different was load shedding. I did not get used to the fact that the electricity would go off for hours and we'd just be sitting in the dark. People have adapted well to it with generators and lamps and Wi-Fi that runs on batteries.
Terrifying to me was that the traffic lights would turn off and the roads would become a lot harder to navigate. The driving already seemed crazy, so I was glad I wasn't the one driving.
The people there I'm really interested to meet. I know that there are 11 official languages of South Africa. They call themselves the Rainbow Nation because they have a lot of different people that have come there from different countries, different cultures. I know that about less than 8% of people are white, which is very different to here, where pretty much 100% of the people are white. So hoping to chat to some people with very different backgrounds to mine. And just from the impression I've got, it sounds like everyone's pretty friendly and kind, but maybe that's just, I've only been told stories about friendly and kind people, but I'm hoping that they're friendly and kind.
I am glad to say I was right about this one. The people were wonderful. Sometimes in the UK, I'll have an interaction with a stranger and it will be so nice and unusual that it will make me smile for weeks. It doesn't happen very often, but every interaction with new people was that good. Everyone was incredibly friendly and it was really easy to start a conversation with people. As soon as I got back to Europe, I was reminded how polite but unfriendly we are to each other. That's a big thing I've taken home with me. I'd like to try to be as friendly and welcoming as the people in Southern Africa.
And finally, I've been thinking about food. Aside from, I'm not expecting to eat like a zebra steak or anything.
Already wrong. I didn't actually have zebra, but I did try buffalo meat, kudu meat, and even crocodile.
I know that there's a lot of South African food that I'm just not familiar with, and I'm excited to try some. I've heard about some of the desserts and sweets, and I want to have a good go at some of those, and different cakes and stuff. Milk tart, maybe? I know we are having a braai the first day that I arrive, and that is very exciting because I have not had a proper one yet. So I am a fan of meat and barbecues and things, so I'm really excited for that.
I did get a milk tart and it was amazing. Thank you to my boyfriend's mother Tracy who made us that. There was a lot of food and drink that I got to try while I was out there. We went on a wine tour in Cape Town, and throughout the trip I also enjoyed iced coffees, which unlike in the UK have blended ice and are very sweet. We did end up having a few braais, which is a barbecue, but also with specific South African meats, such as boerewors. I also tried millipap, a maize-based dish, which I understand is a big staple of many people's diets, and I certainly ate a lot of it while I was there. Again, there's such a huge mixture of cultures, and so I'm glad I got to try a lot of different things.
These have been my expectations. We will see how they compare to the reality. The reality was wonderful, and I'll carry the memories with me for a long time. Thank you so much to Tracy, Richard, and Mel for making this trip happen, and I can't wait to get back over there.